Hello, and welcome to the Office of the Patriot. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and thank you for your continued viewership. It is appreciated. My name is Myron Ybarra, and I'm your host. Today's episode is about peace officers, the pitfalls of the job, and suggestions I'm going to provide for future success in the field of law enforcement. I remember as a kid playing cops and robbers with friends, with one side designated as robbers and the other side designated as cops. The game of cops and robbers is, or rather used to be, a standard children's pastime, much like tag, dodgeball, and hide and seek. And when I was a kid, most of us wanted to be the cop side because we believed they were the good guys. Unfortunately, it appears this game doesn't have the same appeal to children as it once did. And when I do see kids playing the game, robbers are now the side that kids want to be on. So why has this happened? And has this and other societal changes reduced recruitment in the field of law enforcement? For the sake of transparency, I am a retired peace officer. I started my career in law enforcement in the early 1990s, actually in 1990. And at the time, the law enforcement pendulum was beginning to swing towards rehabilitation and away from incapacitation, otherwise known as incarceration. The idea was that people who commit crimes needed to be rehabilitated under a medical model as opposed to a criminal justice model. It was believed that treating these people like patients as opposed to criminal offenders and providing rehabilitative services based on their specific need, these people would be less likely to commit crimes in the future, thus reducing recidivism and thus the need to spend more tax dollars on law enforcement and then corrections. This idea was sold to many legislatures via political action committees, and as a result, laws limiting the court, law enforcement, and corrections discretion and authority began to pop up. At first, it was in the name of saving money, and then, most recently, in the name of equity. And as a result of this new equity ideology, crime has gone up, and more recently, assaults and violence towards peace officers as well. Most cops know going in that there's a chance they're going to be assaulted, injured, or maybe even killed in the line of duty. They understand and accept that they could be dispatched to a crime in progress and may suffer injury or death as a result. Most officers have made peace with this fact. Now, they have to deal with a new fact that they may not just be injured or killed while stopping a crime in progress, but now they may be the targets of the criminals themselves. This fact alone is enough to give pause to even the most selfless and courageous people considering a job in law enforcement. Next, with the dollar dropping in value as a result of current inflation under the Biden administration and the last recession we had in 2008 as a result of the housing market crash, law enforcement departments have sustained significant cuts, primarily in the area of pay and benefits for existing and new peace officers. Retirement, health, and pay packages took a very big hit, and in some cases extending retirement out 7 years for new officers, in addition to starting these new officers out with much lower salary and benefit packages than their senior peers. These two things have had a damping effect on recruitment, and retention isn't faring much better. Officers that are nearing retirement but don't have the years in are either leaving for greener pastures to other agencies that have the same retirement system and or formula, or they're just outright quitting, taking safer work until they can claim their retirement at a later date. Still, even through all of the adversity law enforcement is currently seeing in the public and by the politicians that are supposed to be protecting them and supporting them, thousands of people throughout the United States still have started their path into the field of law enforcement. And I've found the reasons for wanting to be a peace officer are varied. Some want to make an impact in their community, and they just want to help people. Others join because of legacy, wanting to carry on the tradition like other family members before them. And still, others join because of job stability, upward mobility, and even pay and benefit packages. These people are usually new families or have new families and or are wanting some kind of economic stability. So, here's what I recommend to the new people who want to start the process to become a peace officer. First, don't get wrapped up into one specific department or law enforcement career field. I suggest that you investigate what different departments have to offer in the area of job variety, training, and salary and benefit packages. And that means taking tours and ride-alongs with multiple departments. My career started in state institutional corrections, but after exposure to all the jobs that were available within that department, I found that I was more interested in classification and counseling, which is where I eventually moved to after 8 years of being in uniform. Following 9 years as a counselor and a supervising counselor, I left the institution altogether and made the move to community corrections as a parole agent for the Division of Adult Parole Operations in California. And that's where I retired from. There are a lot of interesting jobs in the field of law enforcement, so do your due diligence and investigate prior to moving forward with the hiring process. Number 2, focus on upgrading your education prior to going to the academy. However, do it smartly. And what I mean by this is once you've settled on which department and career field you're going to apply for, look at the minimum education requirements for those jobs. You'll find that most of them only require a high school education or the equivalent. If that's the case, head to your local community college and get your associate's degree in criminal justice or a related field. Well, why not a bachelor's degree? Well, because most departments also provide education incentive bonuses to those officers who have a degree one step higher than what's required. Your financial investment getting an associate's degree is going to be significantly less than a bachelor's degree. Now you can let your new department subsidize part of your continuing education with the education bonus you'll be getting as opposed to funding it all yourself. And as an added bonus, with your new experience as a peace officer, if you do choose to continue your education to acquire your bachelor's degree or even higher, it will be significantly easier for you because many of the concepts that you'll be exposed to in your upper division courses will be things that you already know because you've experienced them on the job. 4th, learn to use all of your equipment with expert level proficiency, especially your handcuffs. You'll find that you'll be using these more than anything else on your duty belt except for maybe your PPE gloves and your pin. Being competent and confident with your handcuffs shows the person being detained that you're prepared for any eventuality. And under most circumstances, when you're applying handcuffs to a detainee, it's a pretty routine and uneventful exercise. However, you have to understand from the detainee's point of view, every step you take when applying handcuffs is one step they're taking towards confinement. And this will sometimes cause a person who's being detained to resist you at the last minute. If it takes you a long time to get your cuffs out and you're fumbling with them while trying to place them on the detainee, they may look at your ineptness as an opportunity to resist the arrest and escape. Next, no is going to be your new favorite word. Now, this applies mainly to people in corrections or community corrections, such as probation officers and parole agents, but it can apply to virtually all peace officers and law enforcement at one time or another. It is significantly easier for you to recant a no and allow whatever the offender or arrestee or detainee is asking for than it is to say yes to their request and then find out that you're not supposed to or have no authority to grant their request. Now understand, if you know that you can grant the request, then do so. Saying no just because you don't like them isn't professional and thus not warranted. Also, if you find out later that what the offender was requesting was okay to grant, then go back to that person and advise them. Being straight with somebody who's in custody goes far to demonstrate your integrity to them and thus to their peers, because inmates and parolees do talk to one another. And finally, a peace officer's badge is approximately 2 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches in diameter. Now, badge dimensions may vary with departments, but the idea is the same. Your badge does not protect you. Your ability to communicate will. The primary goal of all peace officers is to use the least amount of force necessary to gain control of a situation and, if necessary, effect custody. Your ability to talk people down from a volatile situation is the mark of a good peace officer. Now, remembering the rule above, do not promise things that you can't provide, and there's no need to have sympathy for these people, but a healthy dose of empathy can and does go far to demonstrate you understand their plight. After all of the schooling, the application processes, and training, you will eventually be a peace officer with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereof. Sometimes, those responsibilities may have you doing things for these people that you may not like or necessarily agree with. Fulfilling these obligations responsibly, lawfully, and honorably is a mark of a good peace officer and is one of the primary goals of the job. The other is to go home to your family every day with the same number of holes in your body that you started the day with. Well, that's all I have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed what was presented, and if so, please take the time to subscribe, smash the like button, and share my channel on your social media. It's always appreciated. And as always, have a great day and stay safe out there.